the anti-ICE shooter yesterday who just shot at immigrants and is on 4chan and according to his friends was not such bullshit. But
Yeah.
it's all ragstack fire. They're all going to try to use this as an excuse to ramp up martial law. Folks,
Yeah.
you joined me in mid conversation with whistleblower Jenn Budd. Jenn Budd, believe it or not, was a senior border patrol officer. And then she saw things, and the things that she saw, the horrors that she saw, made her be a whistleblower. And she went from border patrol agent to immigrant right activist. And she has a fantastic book called. Sorry about that. She has a fantastic book called Against the Wall. I'm going to link to it. And she also is the editor of the Substack. Can you tell the name?
Borderland Talk.
Borderland Talk. And when I was emailing her, I said, "I'm assuming you're abolish ICE, but I don't know because every time I invite people, I say abolish ICE, but some people say no, reform ICE." And she goes, "Just wait until you see my shirt." So there's a lot to talk about. I've been trying to talk to Jenna for a while, but she's so busy and she's too cool for school, as you all know. Yesterday there was a shooting in Dallas at an ICE facility. Shockingly, it was only the detainees who were shot. Kash Patel rushed out to send a photo of the bullets, which conveniently had anti-ice on the bullets.
Mhm.
Ken Klippenstein actually got the receipts, talked to people who knew the shooter. Another white man radicalized online and 4chan, a shit poster, a nihilist, apolitical, if anything, maybe a libertarian. Everything was a joke. And then, of course, he killed himself.
Mhm.
As you all know, ICE now, folks, has been injected with Bane venom and has billions of dollars. That was an excellent reference, by the way.
Mhm.
And now has a budget bigger than most militaries of countries around the world. It will have 10,000 agents as a result of the big beautiful bill. The threshold to get into ICE and the FBI has been lowered. Some of the investigations show that these people just literally want to crack skulls. Like literally, they're saying we just want to beat up liberals. And then also we have ICE agents, masked armed ICE agents, terrorizing, my opinion, individuals, Americans, immigrants in LA. The Supreme Court said, "Hey, racially profile away." DC right here, 20 minutes away, National Guard just wasting their time. And Trump is now threatening to send them to Chicago. And Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, had a meeting with the military earlier today, emergency meeting. I wonder what they're going to do as this administration is unraveling and the Epstein files are going to get released in some shape or form. The economy is terrible. So with all of that, folks, ICE is really, my opinion. I've used this words, and Jen, you're the expert. I'm just letting you all know because it's the first time you and I are talking. So disagree away with me. This is where I'm
Mhm.
laying my cards on the table. I've said
Mhm.
that ICE under the Trump regime will be his Gestapo. I said this several months
Mhm.
ago,
Mhm.
and I see it being used as his Gestapo. And yesterday, when all the news came out and the right tried to use it for another ragtag fire and blame the left, I didn't give an F. I said, abolish ICE.
Yeah.
So with all that, I yield the floor to you, Jen. You take it away.
Well, I would say that this has actually been going on a long time. So none of this surprised any of us on the southern border. Even my work doesn't surprise anybody who's lived down here for generations. Latinos have been trying to tell the rest of the United States, a lot of different NGOs and groups, this is coming for you.
Hmm.
And this is their aims. And they have been saying abolish the Border Patrol, abolish ICE, abolish CBP, which are all three the immigration enforcement agencies. And they're all similar. And you need to understand that ICE is Border Patrol. So
Okay.
in this scenario, the Border Patrol is the one in charge. The Border Patrol, think of the Border Patrol like the SS. They are Trump's secret private police.
Border
Trump will
Patrol.
Border Patrol is. And
Okay.
and the reason why this is because they're the ones that backed him from the beginning. They even went against their own advice. Their union went against their own advice and took it down in the first Trump administration when they said, no, border wall is a waste of money, doesn't do anything to keep people from coming across. And then they ripped that down and said, oh, no, we need a border wall and all this other stuff. So once they bought in and went all in with Trump, they became his darlings, his right wing SS, as you would say. And I said that I was interviewed by the Border Chronicles, and I said that. I said, this is what I expect. ICE and Border Patrol and all them are going to become like the SS. They're going to become the brown shirts. So, and then I look at ICE kind of as the management of Border Patrol is like the SS, but everybody else is the brown shirts on the ground. And I
Gotcha.
encourage people not to try and distinguish between the three agencies right now because they are all working as ICE agents. So you see Border Patrol doing what ICE can do. You see CBP doing that as well. And then on top of it, they brought in the FBI and everybody else. So everybody is ICE right now. So if you're getting paid by ICE, if you're helping ICE, you're all ICE. Kind of like down here, they don't differentiate between Border Patrol, ICE, and CBP. We're all just la migra, or like they say, la pinche migra, which means fucking immigration. And
And where are you right now?
I'm in San Diego.
Yeah.
So
So you're right there.
yeah, I'm right here. I've always stayed right here. And this was the plan from many, many years ago during the Obama administration. Former Chief David Aguilar of the Border Patrol said, the Border Patrol is going to become a national police force and we are going to be in charge of everything. And one of the ways you can tell that they're starting to succeed in that is they took former Chief Rodney Scott of the Border Patrol and they moved him and made him in charge of CBP. And then they took former Border Patrol Chief John Maudlin, who was the chief of Tucson sector, which I call the rapey sector because they have tons of agents arrested for pedophilia and rape.
Jesus.
And
Oh
and
my God.
they get off scot-free a lot of times, to be honest with you. And they put him in charge as the deputy commissioner of CBP. So what you're seeing in CBP, which are the people at the ports of entry in blue, we think of customs if you're older
Yeah.
like me. Those people tend to be more professional and less thuggish. At least they have a lot of scientists. They have a lot of things that go on with trade and so forth. They're a little bit more professional. And the Border Patrol has always felt that that was not what they wanted. They let people in. They don't want them to let people in. And so you see the Border Patrol has taken over Customs and Border Protection. They are now in charge of it. And if I was a CBP officer, especially a high-ranking one, I would be pissed that they brought in some piece of shit Border Patrol agents to run my agency because Border Patrol has the worst training, the worst background checks for hiring. They hire people with sexual crimes in their history. They hire people with ties to the cartel. They hire people who are undocumented. I mean, they hire men who are under investigation currently for sexual assault, and they just go ahead and hire them. So they are some of the worst. They get arrested 5 times more than any other agency. And Chief Scott and Chief Maudlin are two of the most corrupt chiefs that we have ever had in the United States Border Patrol. So you're right. That is what it is. And the immigration enforcement agencies have taken over the United States. All our money is going to that. The FBI
Yep.
cannot even investigate this administration. They've stripped all the oversight. So there's no oversight. But quite honestly, even before this, the oversight agencies, we filled them with Border Patrol agents. And that's why Border Patrol agents in 101 years have never been convicted of killing anyone, an American, a migrant, anyone, while on duty. That just doesn't make sense.
It does make sense.
Well, it does, but yeah.
It does make sense when both parties, and one party, of course, is far worse than the other, in my opinion, but both parties engage in the beefing up of the military-industrial complex and are terrified of looking weak on security, and thus prop up what, like you said, is, I use the word Gestapo or the stormtroopers, and especially after 9/11. Let's take the DeLorean back, Jen. This is, I mean, because I'm so glad you're breaking this down, because for many of us, CBP, ICE, what, but I think it's
It's
important for
confusing.
people to realize it's all basically a big Unicron, a Transformers reference, and all of them now are aligned, and all of them essentially are, beefed up with the worst people, literally with the worst track records, unqualified, violent. They're essentially unimpeachable. They're all working lockstep to not just crack down on brown and black skulls, but now at the service of the administration. I call them the Gestapo, right? They have just been steroid infected with like billions of dollars. They apparently, if if ICE was a standalone country, it'd be the 16th. It would have the 16th largest military.
Mm.
So that's like 10,000 ICE agents with a huge budget, $3.3 trillion added to the debt. Rich people get richer, more detention centers, more prisons, more ICE agents, right? And we've seen what these ICE agents are doing to the
Mhm.
American public. Let's take the DeLorean back because I'm old. I got the gray hair.
Me
I
too.
remember the creation of ICE. Everyone thinks that ICE is like, oh, it's this institution. You can't dismantle it. I'm like, you all just killed Department of Education. You all just killed USAID. And I have the memory, ICE was created after 9/11. So
Yeah.
talk to us about the creation of ICE and just take us DeLorean from then to now. Because a lot of us were on it for a while.
Mm.
We're like, this ain't gonna be good.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. So if you weren't around during 9/11, I have to remind myself that there are adults that weren't around 9/11 now. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but, and somebody wrote to me, "ICE used to be a honorable agency until Trump got a hold of it." And I was like, "Oh, really?" So, no, ICE was created by the United States Border Patrol Management, and that is why I say ICE and Border Patrol are the same thing. So prior to that, it was old Border Patrol agents who would move into employer sanctions and do basically what ICE is doing now. And so it was us, the Border Patrol, who created ICE to be as bad as it is. The majority, a lot of their investigators are ex Border Patrol agents. Their management is ex Border Patrol. And so we control them, and now we control CBP as well. But ICE, let's remember, ICE was designed by these same agents, actually by Rodney Scott, who's the guy I said is now in charge of CBP. So he's seen this come to fruition. He helped develop the intelligence and all the surveillance we see. He was responsible for that as well. And now he's been rewarded by being in charge of all of CBP. But ICE, let's remember, ICE was created after and in response to a terrorist attack that then resulted in every Arab man having to put his name on a list, or of Arab descent, put his name on a list. And so it created this Muslim list that we had. That
And
is,
Sears. And
yeah,
Sears, National Security Entry Exit Registration System, a Muslim registry.
right. And that's what started it. So everybody that has gone into ICE has been taught that, has gone into that thinking Muslims are the problem, Muslims are the only terrorist. And I will say this, something that I never see anybody talk about, but I keep mentioning, is that you have to understand that after 9/11, the attitude in the national security agencies was to kind of prevent that, but at the same time, abuse that situation. So we allowed the people that let 9/11 happen, the immigration agencies at the time, who failed,
That's right. That's right.
who failed, and then we
Right.
turned around and did not hold anybody responsible for that failure, just like we did on January 6th. And this is what we got. None of these people in charge today were in those towers saving anybody. And yet they have the benefit of all this appreciation and thank you for your service, and we'll give you the benefit of the doubt because you keep saying this and this. But the truth is the people that are in charge today were lying back then, using cover-up teams to get away with killing migrants, doing all this other stuff. When I see what's going on in the streets today, people are like, "Aren't you shocked?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm shocked that they're violating the Constitution, but quite honestly, this is immigration law. This is immigration enforcement, and most Americans didn't care because it was just down here on the border."
Yeah, and I'm so glad you made that point because look, spoiler alert, I'm Muslim, but even not being a Muslim, just being an American, we were marching after 9/11 because we realized that the America would use its rage, its righteous rage, in the worst ways possible, and exacerbate a situation and create more damage, and that's exactly what happened. With the war on terror was a choice. There were 19 foreign Muslim hijackers, 19 immigrants who brought down the two towers, to Jen's point. And then they started surveilling Muslims. Literally the NYPD had its own unit. They were surveilling Muslim shops and Muslim mosques, and they found zero actionable cases of any terrorism. There were mosque crawlers there. I mean, I'm telling you folks, you all forget. But and let me tell you, as a Muslim and a brown guy, I'm telling you, FBI agents are knocking on the doors. Just these cases where innocent people just got like scooped up in Lodi, for example, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it was bad, folks. They were kicking people off planes for speaking Arabic. And Spencer Ackerman, who I had on recently with the 9/11 anniversary, he wrote this great book called Reign of Terror,
Mm.
literally tracking the United States choice and choices. The war on terror was a choice. The beefing up the military industrial complex ICE, and he linked it to Trump. He says, without it, there's no Trump. There's no rise of Trump. There's no rise of Trumpism. There's no Islamophobia. There's no Barack Hussein Obama, the birther conspiracy. And he talked about the infrastructure, right? The infrastructure that is now being used against Americans. And what we said, Jen, was, you know, yeah, you're saying, yeah, rah rah rah, go after the Browns, go after the undocumented, don't go after the Muslims. But what happens if this is turned on Americans? And can you tell us what's happening now? This beefed up ICE agency that we love and we celebrate and we cannot criticize. And even Democrats say, "Oh no, but we need ICE." Can you talk to us about what's happening right now on the ground against white folks, brown folks, black folks?
So they're stopping everybody. Part of the issue is under the guise of stopping terrorism. They created what they call fusion centers across the United
Ah,
States.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And in these fusion centers, under the name of stopping terrorism, they started to claim that coming across the border to seek asylum, to flag down an immigration officer, even if you do it illegally, was somehow criminal. And so we made that criminal during the Bush administration where we were charging it. Because when I was an agent, we didn't charge anybody with 1325 unless they had, which is illegal entry, unless they had like drugs with them or they were doing some other kind of smuggling. So first they had to criminalize that. So they're criminalizing seeking asylum. And at the same time, while they're telling everybody there are legal avenues for people to come across, they actually were reducing the legal avenues, which every Border Patrol agent knows if there are not legal avenues, people will cross illegally. You want your numbers to go up on the border? Close the ports of entry. It'll make it look like an invasion, which is exactly
Mm,
what they did. And so they created a fake invasion. At the same time, so these fusion centers start working together. You start having your local police and sheriffs and your state officers working with immigration agents who are controlling these fusion centers. And they start to learn how we talk and how we justify our actions and what we're doing. And then we start paying them money. So essentially, what DHS has done through the immigration agencies is they have funded strategically police departments, local police departments, and state police departments to the point that many of them are so dependent upon DHS and immigration money, they cannot survive and pay their police officers without taking this money. So
mm,
they've created a financial dependency upon them. And so, in order for these cops to keep getting the same amount of money, they have to keep doing the things that they want them to do, which is put them in their jails, which is all of a sudden assume that authority. So, there's a difference between immigration authority and a difference between peace officer authority. So, your local cops and state troopers and FBI, they have essentially what is peace officer authority. If they see you speeding or they think you've committed a crime, they have to at least think you've committed a crime to stop you. That's probable cause. In immigration enforcement, we don't need that. All we have to do, and I understand the Supreme Court, everyone's like, the Supreme Court just said racial profiling is legal. Well, actually, what they said was our prior decisions of saying immigration officers can racially profile stands. So
mm,
they've done it in the past in three other decisions. The ones they choose off the top of my head is Brignoni Ponce versus USA, and then Martinez Fuerte versus USA are two of them that they use. That the Supreme Court said exactly what Justice Kavanaugh said in the last one, that if you're down by the border and the immigration checks are just a few minutes, all you have to do is say you're a citizen and it's no big deal. And so racial profiling in their mind, because the majority of them are white, rich people, they think that that's fine. Um, even though it violates the Fourth Amendment. So that's been going on down here on the border for over 100 years, and people have been complaining about it, but they never cared because it didn't affect them. So now what we're seeing in Chicago and what we are seeing all over the United States, even in white neighborhoods, is police officers, when they stop you, they're saying, well, do I have probable cause? No, I didn't see anything, but I really want to stop this person because, they're brown or they're black, and I want to check their immigration status. So then they just choose to become an immigration officer and use
Wow.
that to stop you. And I have video of this. It was going on in Texas when they first started that Lone Star operation under Governor Greg Abbott. And I did a video, it's a while back, and I was like, dude, this is bad. They're swapping authorities. And so that's what they've done, is they've made it, they say it's legal that, like, say I'm a Border Patrol agent and you're a sheriff. I don't have knock and talk capabilities as a Border Patrol agent. That's against the policy of the Border Patrol. We don't have that right. But if I'm standing next to you, then I kind of just assume your authorities. And now I have your authorities, even though I have no training, and vice versa for your peace officers. So what you have is legally a confusion of powers. Everybody's doing everybody else's jobs, and none of this has been tested in the courts. And the judges are just kind of shrugging their shoulders and going, okay, I guess this is the new thing that we're doing. And so they've just completely upturned the powers and authorities and confused it between immigration and peace officer authority. And that allows them to then start pulling over anybody for any excuse, and they can never be held accountable for it, according to that.
I really appreciate that explanation, and our audience is really appreciating it as well. And so, cliff notes, because I'm a simple, unfrozen caveman lawyer, and tell me where I'm wrong. War and terror happens. This country loses its mind. Terrorism, terrorism, terrorism. Of course, we want to fight terrorism. We beef up, create, Department of Homeland Security, beef up ICE, create the Patriot Act. Everyone says, rah, 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 keep us safe, even though they effed up. Again, it was 19 foreign hijackers who came to this country, and Richard Clarke and others warned about it. And this administration said, huh, what? Nah. For those who don't remember it, there were warning signs. And literally, as Jen said, like, the people in charge failed. But I digress. So border, strengthen the border. Democrats are always Republican light when it comes to crime and immigration. Instead of actually having a proactive narrative, let's just be like Republicans. Fund it. We can't say abolish ICE because, of course, it's a sanctified deity. And what's been happening on the DL is the people in charge of Border Patrol were like, ha, ha, ha. What we'll do is we'll just bring the border to the suburbs. We'll bring the border to Black and brown communities, right? And we'll blend in and merge immigration with local law enforcement to the point where it becomes so nebulous and so tethered that you can't separate it, which is why you needed that clean line distinction. You do
Yes.
not have enforcement. You're Border Patrol. That's your job. F off. This is local law enforcement. It's not your job to go and harass anyone that you see as like Black and brown. Keep the Border Patrol at the Border Patrol. But the border has been moving. Now it's in Chicago at the border. It's in DC. It's in LA. The big, beautiful bill comes out. They just supercharge it. For those who are joining us late, everyone talks about the $1 trillion cuts to Medicaid and the $330 trillion added to the debt. The $3 trillion debt. I've always mentioned to people, the one thing you ain't looking at is the super fusion of cash to ICE. More ICE agents now. There's going to be 10,000 of these agents, which you said, Jen, are just some of the worst people, right? Without any accountability. The bar has even been more lowered. Stephen Miller has openly used the word invasion in the past couple of months. He used the word insurrection. He invoked the Alien Enemies Act. He wants to suspend habeas corpus. I have said, and people say, "Wad, you're crazy," and now they're like, "You might not be crazy." I have said, if I had Stephen Miller and I had this ICE and I had the Senate and I had the House and I'm Donald Trump, Jen, I wouldn't leave. What I would do is my own rack fire. Let's just say, oh, I don't know, the murder of Charlie Kirk by a white man, or, oh, I don't know, the shooting at an ICE detention facility. And then I would just say it was a liberal, even though so far folks it isn't. It was a 4chan guy. And then I would say, as the president of the United States, the power vested in me, I have to keep America safe. And oh, look, you all are protesting. You're Antifa. And I would just declare some group a terrorist organization. Let's just say, oh, Antifa. And then I'd say, we're being invaded and it is up to me to protect us. And oh, look, it's right. It's the elections that I might lose. So I'm going to declare martial law. And oh, look, you people are marching. You are committing insurrection. Already the word that Stephen Miller used, folks, in the summer. And then I would unleash my Gestapo, which is now a fusion, like you said, folks. If you don't believe us, look what's happening in LA. It ain't just ICE. It's ICE, National Guard, local police, military. Same thing in DC. All merged together as my stormtroopers, and then I would crack skulls. Am I crazy, Jen?
No, you're not crazy. And I think what interests me the most is like when all this first started with the mass deportation, a lot of people would say, and they're still saying it, oh, these aren't real federal agents. And I'm like, and this is that American exceptionalism. I had it for a long time, obviously. This idea that, oh, they're not properly trained. No, this is the training, y'all. You just don't want to admit that this is the training. And after 9/11, just in talking with agents and then my connections as it is, they were hiring people in the immigration enforcement agencies, but also in the other federal agencies that were very right-leaning. The Border Patrol is filled with a huge amount of nationalist, Christian nationalists,
Yep.
unlike before. And no, this is the plan. And when people say, "Well, we're going to have martial law, we're going to have a police state," I'm like, we're already there. They just
Yeah.
haven't officially said it. You have that when you have secret police, when they kidnap people off the streets, when families can't find them. I mean, look at Alligator Alcatraz. We've got, 1,200, 1,800 men. We have no idea where they are. They won't tell us where they are, and people aren't getting due process. And so you're not crazy. People just do not want to accept that this is how we've been training our agents, and this is who we are. This is who we are, and we have to fight against it. But every time the Border Patrol and ICE and CBP open their mouths, they are usually lying. One of the ways that when these shooting incidents happen, that they're full of shit is when they come out immediately with stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened yesterday. Can you tell us what happened yesterday? Like
Yeah,
literally,
so
you're right. Immediately they came out with all these narratives, which have been debunked now with more and more evidence.
yeah, I mean, when they said, I saw somebody, I don't even want to say her name to give her credit, some right-wing idiot who's close to Trump was like, oh, well, he was just a really bad shooter because he was a leftist. So I'm like, stop it. Just stop it. And not only that, and Border Patrol, ICE, and CBP, like, let me say for Border Patrol specifically, we've had secret and illegal critical incident teams that I outed years ago that then were rolled into CBP. They're still there. I have documented how they create fake evidence. I have documented how they destroy video. I have documented how they plant evidence over and over. So when I see these cases, I just see the Border Patrol critical incident teams or ICE critical incident teams, because they all have these teams. CBP does as well. And like I said, now Border Patrol's in there as well, that go in and doctor the evidence so that their agents are never held accountable. And even, the head of CBP now has been judged by the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights to have done this. I'm writing a book about these teams now and how they get away with killing people and stuff. And so people don't understand how corrupt these agencies are. They are so corrupt. If deterrence policies worked, if walls worked, if all that other stuff that they keep demanding they need more of for it to worked, we would not have had all the problems that we've had. We've been doing it for 30 years. And you know what it's done? It's killed 70 to 80,000 migrants is what we've done.
Oof.
There's 70 to 80,000 bodies out there in the desert, some of which I have personally picked up. And Americans won't talk about it, and they won't. And then when they sit there and go, how could these guys act like this? It's like they've been acting like this for decades, for generations, and you didn't care. And So this is why we are where we are. We don't care about what our policies do to other people, whether it's in other countries. We don't even care what it does in our backyard. It's not to say there aren't good people in these agencies. Of course, there are always some good people who are naive. There are many, many agents who go into these agencies and then they go and they're a firearms instructor for the majority of their career and they don't know any of this. So I don't want to say that every single person in there is out there beating people up in the street.
Of
And
course.
you have to understand that the people who are taking the detail or the tour, as they call it, it'll be like a 1 or 2 month detail that you have to do. It's voluntary right now. And the people who are volunteering are the worst of the worst because they
There you
want
go.
to beat some ass, right?
There you go.
And there are still good people in some of these agencies, but they get into certain niches where they don't have to see and deal with any of. Now, are they responsible? I mean, that's what I came down to was I can't still be a part of this. But for a lot of them, they justify it through the money and stuff. So at the same time, they're getting paid a shit ton of money. But these are people who generally, not all of them, because I'm a college graduate and was able to get out, but generally cannot find a job that will pay them above minimum wage. Their
And
education levels are too low. They have no prior training, or they have severe mental problems that the immigration agencies do not. So all law enforcement agencies, all the way from local to federal, state, they all have psychological evaluations except the immigration enforcement agencies. And there's a reason for
I did
that.
not know that. I did not know that.
Yes. Yes.
And you know, and for those who say, "Ah, Jen, she's a whistleblower. She might have some extra grind." Just look at the Washington Post did like last month. I'm sure you saw that article where they interviewed some of these people who were applying for ICE, and one of these guys said exactly what you said. I just want to go there and crack some skulls and
Yep.
put my boot on the necks of these liberals. And you know, some of these people, folks in D.C. and L.A. have recorded some of these masked armed ICE agents who are literally like saying, "Yeah, Proud Boys," giving a
Hmm.
thumbs up to the
Hmm.
Proud Boys, saying, well, Trump might be bad. He's not as bad as these leftists. So they're
Well,
recruiting these jackbooted thugs to crack skulls. And now you're telling us there's no audit, no oversight, history of corruption, history of sexual abuse. Openly, they're admitting it. They're like, we want to crack the leftists. They're part of the Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, Christian nationalists. Not all of them, folks, but it's there. Can
it's
you
there.
talk to us about this fraternity that exists within this growing, I call it Gestapo, CBP, ICE, Border Patrol, and you know, of course, you don't want to paint everyone, but there's like it's like MAGA right now. It's the Trump administration. I'm sure there's differences of opinions, but there's an overarching type, if you will. Like if you say certain things, if you believe certain things, if you act in a certain way, you will get rewarded. Talk to us about the bro culture of what you witnessed.
Um, well, the Border Patrol since 1975, they've allowed women in, but they've only had 5% women in, and that's because they have a robust rape culture. The motto of the U.S. Border Patrol is honor first. But the men do not say honor first, and they say on her first.
Wow.
And the women in the Border Patrol are required to, we are sexually hazed into the agency. The very first Latina we had in 1975, Ernestina Lopez, started this culture. She was raped by her classmate, and then she was fired because she complained. That was in 1975. 20 years later, I was raped by my classmate and told that I
Oh,
would be
I'm
fired
sorry.
if I complained. And so I shut my mouth to prove how strong I was. I had no idea it was systemic, obviously, at the time. Um, and it took many years to understand that and document that. But I and another journalist, Erin Siegel McIntyre, has documented that on a podcast for Reveal News called The Fearless 5%. So that's why they think Border Patrol women are tougher than any other women, is because we can handle either sexual assault or sexual harassment kind of hazing. At the same time, um, half of the agency is Latino, but these tend to be Latinos who have no other opportunities. We fill the schools all over the nation. We are in your schools teaching your children that we are honorable and that undocumented people have a legal way to do it and have just chosen not to do it. And we're preaching sometimes to kids whose parents are undocumented, but they don't know. And so we get them to turn against their parents. But as my bosses said, if they like us with our dog and pony shows, their parents won't see us coming when we come after them.
Wow.
That's the point of that. So we've been indoctrinating children, specifically Latino children. So the Latinos that go into the Border Patrol do not understand the culture that they have joined. We are taught that there's a legal way to do it. They choose to flaunt our laws
You're the
and
good
this and
ones.
that.
They're the
We're the
bad
good
ones.
ones, and we are the victims.
Yeah.
We as agents are the victims. And so, like when we were talking about the shooting that happened in Dallas, I said, I think yesterday on Blue Sky, I said, so here's what you look for. The very first thing that they do in the set teams is they control the narrative. They'll have the union guys come out and talk about it. They'll have right-wing media talk about it. Specifically, they use Ali Bradley of News Nation and that Bill Maluzhkin, we call him Border Bill, from Fox News. They will put out absolutely anything DHS tells them. So the way they do it is DHS puts their spin on it. The Border Patrol and the critical incident teams, the secret teams, tell headquarters, okay, this is what we're going to go with. Always, the agents have to be a victim every time. And then now the goal is to paint the aggressor, the shooter, as left-wing, Democratic, or whatever. I will say I've never seen somebody who is believing in abolishing ICE to say anti-ICE on a bullet. I've never
And
seen that.
also a hardcore 4chan user.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard Chingalamira. I've heard, I've
And
heard
who
fuck
only
the
shoots
Border
Jen
Patrol.
and who only shoots the ICE detainees and not the
Yeah.
ICE agents.
Yes, he's such a bad shot. He was able to hit detainees, but no ICE agents. So he went to an immigration detention center to do this as well. And so I think that is what we were seeing. We were seeing a concerted effort of, unfortunately, young men that seem to be chronically online, willing to give themselves over as martyrs. This is no different from what we have accused Islamic extremists of doing in their own countries. It's the same thing when we see these Christian nationalist families doing Christmas pictures with all their guns and stuff. Yet at the same time, we will look at Islamic terrorists who do that and put out pictures and go, "Oh my God, they're a bunch of terrorists." It's the same thing. They are copying literally what they have been screaming about was going on in the Middle East with Islamic terrorists. So they're just copying what they're doing, and they know, DHS knows, all we have to do. And like I said, this is how I've studied this for years. This is how it's done. Create the narrative. So now they get DHS to come out really fast and they repeat it over and over and over and over again. They know they're lying, but the point is to get it out on the right-wing outlets, and then they will never say another word about that.
Last 2 weeks, Tyler Robinson, they put it out that it was the left, and then Tyler Robinson's out of the media.
Yeah, so they did this too in LA like a month ago, and I talked about it on my podcast. It's another situation in which they do that. So ICE went into a neighborhood. They went into a woman's house and destroyed it. And she's out on the street speaking to Fox News and Univision. And she says, yeah, they got the wrong number. They admitted they got the wrong number on the house. But they said I had 2 Iranian terrorists in there. And this was around the time when Trump was bombing Iran. And so I said, oh, we think there are Iranian terrorists. So they'll take things out of the news and use it. And the reason why they do that is so that people will go, well, you just do whatever you need, sir. Right? Or they'll say it's a drug bust and people will back off. But then that night, and Fox News is interviewing her, and a neighbor's recording the interview, and you hear what she says, no, they got the wrong place. There's nobody in my house. This is not true. But the report that the local Fox News put out in LA that night said, Well, DHS and ICE and Border Patrol say that they got 2 more Iranian terrorists out of her house, and they didn't put anything that she said out. So they put it out knowing it was not true, but they will never talk about it again. And as I look, every week I look, have they charged any of these people? No, there's no charges. So
Done.
every time they sit there and say, this guy raped an 8-year-old and this and that, you have to say, prove it. But the media will say, this is what they're saying. And because they're the government, that's news. And then they never revisit it. So people really think they got 7 to 9 terrorists out of LA, and they did not.
You saw this happen, folks. To Jen's point, literally, you saw in the last 2.5 weeks. Before there was a suspect, before there was a motive, the narrative was out. Wall
Yes.
Street Journal had to pull it back. Guardian had to pull it back. Donald Trump, regardless, so recklessly went in front of the world, blamed far left terrorism and far left activism. Fox News ran with it. Jesse Waters, Greg Gutfeld, Laura Ingraham, the entirety of right-wing media. They used words like war, civil war. Threats increased against me, against black folks, against historically black colleges. After Tyler Robinson was the guy, literally, Governor Cox said, one of us, literally, just a couple of days ago, folks, it wasn't in it was only one article that I saw. The FBI, Kash Patel's FBI said, can't find any link to left-wing violence. And I did this tweet that went kind of viral, I think yesterday, Jen. I'm like, interesting. Tyler Robinson's out of the news. I wonder why. And people are like, because the MAGA, which is a cult, already thinks it's the left. You even saw the Charlie Kirk, I'm not even going to call it memorial propaganda rally, where they said they, them, they. And I'm like, word, me? I didn't kill, like, was Tyler Robinson. So it's gone. It's already seated.
Yep, it's
Alligator
seated.
Alcatraz, already seated.
Mhm.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the only reason that was dislodged, and I always tell people it's because Chris Van Hollen, I keep the receipts from Maryland, went one Democratic senator. I'm going to keep the receipts. We're going to get to the Democrats now because Democrats all should have gone. It was only Chris Van Hollen who went. Folks, he went to El Salvador. He said, I am not going to leave until I get proof of life. It was in the news. By the second day, they're like, this mother effer ain't leaving. And then they brought out Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and then it was in the news. And because it was in the news for 2 weeks, the entire narrative turned because people are like, why is this man who has committed 0 crimes, who the Trump administration admits was unlawfully sent, got sent there? And Jen, they're so cruel. And you know this. They're
Mhm.
so cruel that even now they're trumping up false allegations against Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Instead of just simply saying, we'll take the L, instead of, I don't know, throwing an ICE agent under the bus, and, that's what I would do to protect ICE and to protect themselves and to show their cruelty. They're still just lying about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, trying desperately to deport this man.
Do you know
Just
why?
for people, you saw it the last 2 weeks, folks, it's happening. In fact, it's happening yesterday. So literally yesterday, they're like, it was anti-ICE, and Ken Klippenstein has the friends who were like, this guy was a 4chan friggin' online white guy, libertarian who was an accelerationist, but it's already seated. To your point,
Yeah.
why? I have no idea why. You tell me why.
Well, the reason why the government does this, the reason why the immigration agencies do this is, I mean, flat out, they would tell us as agents, never apologize.
There you go.
Never apologize. We are taught that the people that we are arresting and policing are subhuman, is a word that they
There you go.
use.
There you
We
go.
call them in the Border Patrol, I'm going to be flat out. So in the Border Patrol, like I said, because half of our agents are Latino, we cannot use our normal white racist terms that we use, and we want them to feel like they're a part of us, even though they don't get into management like white people do. But we call them tonks, and tonk is the sound our flashlights make when we hit them in the head.
TONK.
TONK or TONC. Agents who are trying to lie to you will say that is an acronym for temporarily out of native country or true origin not known, but that is not true. It is the sound our flashlight makes when we hit them in the head. I have a picture of a Border Patrol t-shirt sold by my classmate, Special Operations Supervisor. I don't want to say his name, but at any rate, that has a flashlight and says, "Tonk. If you don't know, then you don't need to know." That's who we are. That's who we are. And people need to understand that the immigration agencies, even though some of these came around after 9/11, but the Border Patrol, we are rooted heavily in white supremacy. Our very first agents were sons of the Confederacy. That's our culture.
The lyric from "Killing in the Name of Rage Against the Machine" just it flashed in my head. Some of those who work forces are the same that burden crosses. It's always been that way. And you know what, Jen, on this show and on the Substack, what I've been saying many, many times is that there's two original sins of America that this country refuses to confront, even now. It just punts it down, punts it down, punts it down, keeps haunting us. It's white supremacy and unfettered capitalism, racism and greed. And
Yep.
we just refuse to confront it. And liberals refuse to confront it. Democrats refuse to confront it. They just keep punting on immigration. If you've noticed, they punt, 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 punt. And I keep the receipts. They kept quiet when they were picking up Rameza Ostrich and Mahmoud Khalil. They kept quiet when they picked up these 200 men, these poor brown men who had tattoos, who literally were sent to be killed, tortured to death in El Salvador. They kept quiet and passed the Laken Riley Act to crush more undocumented immigrants because they didn't want to be seen as weak. And even now, Democrats, literally, Jen, as you've said this, and we've seen it now, where literally ICE is just cracking skulls.
Yep.
I'm sitting there thinking, Democrats, what have you got to lose? Say abolish ICE. Like they literally just abolished Department of Education. And even now they're like, that's a step too far. Jen, your response to these Democrats who, in my opinion, have enabled this and are still cowards.
I love it when people tell me, you just hate Trump and you love Biden. And I'm like, have you heard me talk about Biden? Are you kidding me? All right, let's get down to it. When we sit here and say Democrats are great for immigrants and Republicans are the ones who are brutal, Bill Clinton is the one that passed deterrence policies that send migrants all the way out to the desert, out to the mountains where I worked, where they died in the snow and I had to collect their bodies, or they died in the desert and I had to collect their bodies. They send them to the Rio Grande River to cross, where thousands upon thousands have been washed away and continue to be washed away. That was a Heritage Foundation idea that the Democrats took on. They own deterrence policies. Obama deported more people. And I want to tell you this, Obama did build the cages to put the children in that Trump used. Okay. Obama in 2014 passed a policy that when migrant mothers came over, when pregnant migrant mothers came over, right as they're going into labor so that their children would be born in the United States, that happens quite often, especially at the ports of entry, that when they're in the hospital, instead of having Border Patrol agents take their babies, they had local child protective service agencies come and take newborn babies from their mother's breast.
Ugh.
And then they put them in the American system. Some were adopted out to American families if they had no family in the United States. Wendy Fry documented that. She was a local reporter here in San Diego. Her and I worked on that together. And then you look at what Biden did. Biden, okay, the reason why it looked like there was an invasion is because they closed the asylum system. Remember what I said, what happens when we close legal avenues? People cross illegally every single time. And so when you see Border Patrol Union saying, yeah, let's close the asylum system, these people who did not believe in COVID and felt that it was a hoax and refused to mask and lost over 15 agents in the Border Patrol alone and many more in CBP and ICE, now are trying to convince everybody we have to close the border because now suddenly they believe in COVID. What they did when they did that was they created a false invasion. They create a backup down here on the border. It forces everybody to cross illegally. It gives them the optics they need. The Border Patrol Union then guided Bill Malugin and Allie Bradley to all the videos they needed to see, because it's honestly really hard to find these groups, even with that many people crossing illegally. They caused the illegal crossing. And then, unfortunately, Biden kept it going. So by the time that Biden opened the asylum system in 2023, it's funny that I remember the union and everybody was like, and the press was like, oh my God, it's going to be a tsunami, as like to say, coming across the border with all these illegal migrants crossing. Just wait, just wait. And I'm like, no, it's actually going to cause it to decrease because they have a legal avenue. These families do not want to cross illegally and put their lives in danger or their children's lives in danger. And the last person they want to meet is a Border Patrol agent because we are assholes.
Mm.
Okay. So, I mean, we are some of the most brutal assholes. And the women, ooh, we are some of the worst. And that's exactly what happened. When they opened up the asylum system, crossings dropped the very day they did that by 50% because people want a legal avenue. So that tells you that Title 42, that they did not believe in COVID, and they did this. So that created 4 years that they did not process. The invasion wasn't an invasion. It was we refused to process people and we created a backup. That's what they
Deliberately.
did. Deliberately. And it even hurt their own agents in the field because it caused them to have to process asylum seekers. And Border Patrol agents shouldn't be processing people to come in legally. They should be handling the criminals that are in between the ports. And when you do that, you overwhelm them, and then they can't catch people who you should be preventing from coming in. They shoot themselves in the foot just to get political advantage every single time.
And folks, it's one of those situations I want to remind everyone that immigrants coming to the border and presenting themselves for asylum is legal. It is legal. Them literally saying, I am here at the border. I am here for withholding of removal, for asylum. Then this is me flexing my old school lawyer hat. And I used to do immigration law back in the day. And, I was helping immigrants in the last ditch efforts to stay. And I can even tell you, man, the folks who were denied, I'm like, how did this get denied? Like, why is this even on appeal?
Yeah.
But, it's not easy to get asylum, folks. It's not like, hey, I'm here for asylum, let me in. No, they have to go through like a vetting process. It is tough. So we said, no, 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 you can't come here. We're going to shut down those legal ports of entry, which, like you said, Jen, well, then people are desperate. Then they do illegal stuff. Then they get caught. Then they die in the desert. Then they get killed. Then skulls get cracked. And then, like you said, that photo op. See, it's an invasion. And then you have Christy Nome with her $50,000 watch going to El Salvador and say, we got these guys. And you mentioned the dehumanizing aspect of it. It's all connected because it's not just men. It's not just men who got picked up without due process and put on a plane and sent to El Salvador. It's brown rapists. It's criminals. It's invaders. And then Americans like, yeah, we got them. And this is where I fault the Democrats because we know what the Republicans are. We get it.
Yep.
Democrats allegedly know better. And Democrats still have cowardice, Jen. And
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking to myself, and let me ask you this question. If you can, I'll keep you for 10 more minutes. Everyone loves this.
I got plenty of time.
See, this is why I've been wanting Jen. I knew this would be gold. I'm like, she is on it. And it took me a couple of months to do it. Everyone, a lot of people, I don't know if you're reading the comments, they're very, very appreciative. They're like,
No, I
they've already
appreciate it.
subscribed to you. This is for those who are joining us, the 1,300 folks. We're going to have this up on our Substacks later on today. And I'm talking to Jenn Budd. She's the author of a fantastic book, Against the Wall. She was a Border Patrol agent, and then she became a whistleblower. And now, clearly from her shirt, she says, abolish ICE. This flaming lefty who was a Border Patrol agent who lives in San Diego. What does she know? She knows it all. She knows it all, folks. I want to ask you this question. Why abolish ICE? I mean, Democrats tell me, gosh, it's too much. Oh, no, we need ICE. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, why, Jen? Why? Why do we need this?
There are certain points when these agencies get to the point where they're irredeemable. And in my book, I remember writing the last chapter, and I'm going to run out of energy here pretty soon, so we will have
You
to
have
cut it
5
short.
minutes?
Yeah,
3 minutes?
I think so.
Oh,
But
great.
it just essentially, what's the question again? I'm sorry.
Why abolish ICE? Like, why
why
not
abolish
just
ICE?
abolish
Yeah,
ICE?
okay. So these agencies are so hopelessly corrupt, and their management, the heads of the management, are so political and so corrupt that they cannot see what they're doing anymore. And let me see if I can can you hang on and see if I can plug this in?
Yeah, just plug it in. We're
Okay.
we're the child of immigrants here. You could sit there and plug it. You could just, it's all good.
Okay. I'll be right back.
Folks, I'm going to put in the chat right now Jen's book. I strongly recommend you purchase it. Please support her. She's gone through a lot. Clearly, when you're a woman in Border Patrol, is already tough. When you get out and whistleblow, it's a notorious frat culture, and they punish. And then she's come out and she wrote the book. Against the Wall is the book. Um, I just, um, I put it in there. And yeah, a lot of y'all are wonderful. Thank you so much. I see Natasha. Thank you. You just put Jen Substack. Go subscribe to her Substack. Support her because how many people do you see actually being a whistleblower? The reason why they don't is they're afraid. It's a bro culture. It's a frat culture. Honor right? You don't talk about it. It's seen as bad politics, and some of these people are nuts. So it's literally, it's a threat, and a threat to Jen. But she's spoken out, and she knows it inside out. And I've been trying to get Jen for a while, and she has not disappointed. So I really appreciate her doing this. And now we're seeing Jen's house, which is great. You got books there. You
Sorry.
got the bud. No, no. Listen. I This happens to me all the time. You sometimes see me on one knee with a charger. No one
Yeah.
cares. So it's thank you so much for doing it. But if you can, I'll just keep you for 5 more minutes. But yeah, the whole for those who are joining us, 1,400 people. This is Jenn Budd, former Border Patrol agent who resigned and is a whistleblower and knows the culture inside and out. She's in San Diego. She's written a book, Against the Wall. She has a fantastic Substack. And she broke it down. For those who joined us late, it'll be up on our Substack later on today. She broke it down. We took the DeLorean back 30 years. And this ICE is operating exactly as it was intended to operate. Folks, it is operating exactly as it was intended to operate. This is it. So when people say, this isn't us, this is us, this is America. And so the question I have for you now that Jen has some juice, why not abolish this friggin' corrupt, violent institution that is now cracking black, brown, and white skulls?
So, we should abolish it because they have violated their oath to the Constitution, just as the United States Border Patrol has, just as CBP has. They have completely violated their oaths. They are unable to say no to illegal orders. And especially now, like we see how many people are dying in their custody. I believe this year they've already surpassed previous years. This year's going to be a new record. The sexual assaults that they have, the fact that they use private prisons, which my understanding is you can demand from your states that private prisons be illegal, like New York State has banned private prisons. So that's something that we should be working on. And
Absolutely. That's a really big point, Jen, because folks don't know that on election night, that one stock that shot right up as soon as Donald Trump was elected, private prisons. And private prisons and detention centers are now just going to flourish as a result of the big, beautiful bill. Continue.
yeah,
Sorry, I just wanted to say that.
no, that's okay. I just found out I think a couple of weeks ago about a new, and I call them concentration camps, because if people are being held without due process and they can't have access to their attorneys and they're being sent to these torture prisons in other countries, that's a secret police and that's a concentration camp. The fact of the matter, I love how these anti-immigrant groups will say it costs a fortune. All these undocumented people cost us a fortune. How much do you think this shit is costing? I mean, are you
Mm,
kidding me? To fly somebody all the way to Africa, which they're not even from, that's at least $30,000-$40,000 a person to do that. When what you could really do is just adjust people's status. ICE doesn't need to be that big. The population of undocumented people in our country commit less crimes than Americans do. It's not to say that there isn't something that we need to actually, like, you know, be careful of who's coming into our country. There are things that have to be addressed, but not at the level that they're saying, and you see they just lie over and over again. If their goal was to protect the United States, they would be arresting the worst of the worst. They are not. They are arresting moms and dads. They are arresting children. I saw the other day agents holding a 5-year-old child with autism
yeah.
uh,
Oh,
away from her father so that they could get him to come outside. He has no criminal record. A lot of these people have no immigration record. To spend all these resources, each of these agents make over $100,000 a year.
Wow.
Spend all these resources. It's hilarious to see them take 10 people to capture one person who's not even a criminal, when in my day, I mean, I was in a lot better shape, but I'm only 5'6". I would be out in the mountains and I could arrest easily 20, 30, 40 people. I've arrested 100 men in the middle of the night by myself on a mountain out here. Why? Because 99.9% of them are seeking a better life and trying to get away from harm. They are not criminals. And in fact, since 2018, the U.S. Border Patrol as a population has committed more violent crimes than the migrants they've arrested every year.
Foreign-born individuals commit fewer crimes than people born in the United States of America. Immigrants, in the long run, are an economic boon. They're great entrepreneurs. Elon Musk and white nationalists are terrified about the declining population. Same thing here and in Europe. Guess who are the only people who are keeping it from further declining? Immigrants. Folks, it's a shame. And then my pushback to you as a devil's advocate
Yeah.
is everything you said. This is what Democrats tell me. Well, we just have to keep the border safe. Without ICE, what are we going to do, Jen? So
Okay.
maybe we should reform ICE.
No, see, we have to have, right now, our immigration system is only punitive. The only response to everything is punitive, and it creates a lot of chaos and stuff. And we just don't, it ends up hurting us more. I mean, you talk about wanting to turn people against the United States, treat them like how we're treating them. And you're going to get people who hate the United States. So there's just no reason for any of this except for racism and brutality and power and money. That's the only reason why they're doing this. So, yeah.
And if you abolish ICE, so someone will say, all right, just a layman's question. Okay, Jen, but if we abolish ICE, then who's going to keep the border safe?
ICE isn't on the border. Border Patrol's on the border. CBP's on the border. And let me point to you. Let me point out one thing. You know how politicians always go fentanyl, fentanyl, fentanyl. Everybody's dying of fentanyl, and it's the migrants bringing it in. Number one, expensive drugs do not come in between the ports of entry. The only time that the Border Patrol catches fentanyl or cocaine or heroin is at their checkpoints, and then we don't know where it came in. But predominantly, only marijuana comes across the border. It's been that way for over 30 years. It's too much. A decent-sized man can carry about 60 to 70 pounds in a backpack on his back. It's too dangerous, and you'll lose expensive drugs doing that. Fentanyl and expensive drugs come through legally at the ports of entry. They either bribe the CBP officers with money or sex, and a lot of times sex with children,
Oh,
or
God.
yeah, or the vast majority of how it's getting through is in the cargo containers on railroads, yeah, on railroads, locomotives, and through the land ports, in trucks, big trucks, and sometimes in cars, but mostly in big cargo containers on trucks, the railroads, and at the seaports. Why is that? Well, you can put about a ton to 2 tons of drugs in one of those cargo containers, and CBP only checks 3.7% of cargo containers. So as a drug dealer, where are you going to put your fentanyl? You're gonna
That's
put it in a
yeah.
cargo container, 'cause so that's, in 2021, CBP had 11 million containers that came in, to the agency, so, or into the country, and they checked less than 4%. They blame it on the migrants, even though they're not carrying it at all. They're blaming the deaths. They get you all riled up about fentanyl, but the truth is the reason why it comes in legally is because they do not have the ability to inspect those cargo containers fast enough to keep capitalism going. The reason why your children and your friends and your loved ones are dying because of fentanyl overdose is because of capitalism, and they do not want to admit it to you.
And speaking of capitalism, ICE is great for business, more
Yeah.
private prisons, more detention centers. And folks, check it out. Those detention centers are empty right now. There's only so many brown and black folks. Who's going to feed the belly of those new prisons and detention centers?
Well, they said the
You think it's
homeless, right?
homeless, critics, poor people, drug addicts, and a lot of those folks are going to look like you and your family members in the next 2 years. And that's what people aren't paying attention, that this is coming for all of us. The border is no longer in San Diego, Mexico, or Arizona. The border is in Chicago. The border is in DC. The border is in LA. ICE is going to be there cracking on the skulls, folks. So this is something that I hope we've made the case connects all of us, and I hope we've made the case that we use our voice to pressure Democrats to say enough, abolish ICE. Jet, I'll end on this. What was considered crazy and radical ceases becoming radical once you actually champion it. For example, I don't know, Civil Rights Act that was seen as crazy,
Mhm.
desegregation, crazy, marriage equality, crazy, living wage, crazy, taxing the rich, crazy. Uh, until people are like, yeah, that actually sounds like a moral, ethical, and right thing to do. And so I'm all in. It's time to abolish ICE. And
Mhm.
I appreciate. I was only supposed to talk to you for 30 minutes. I just realized I've talked to you for the last frigging hour and 15 minutes. I could have talked to you for another hour, and more people are joining in. It's 1,500 people who've joined us. I've been talking to Jenn
Wow.
Budd for the past 70 minutes. Jen, I've been waiting so long to talk to you. People have said this is one of the best shows yet. Excellent show. Thank you. Everyone needs to buy her book. Eye opening. Wow, we're gonna reshare this. This will be up on Jen. You could also publish this. I think it'll be up on your drafts in 30 minutes.
Okay.
I've been nonstop. I got to go do something, but I'll have that up on my Substack, folks. I strongly recommend you listen to it, you watch it. There'll be transcripts. Everything is free on the left hook. I'm a terrible capitalist. So once this is published, please share it, send it to people. I think people need to be informed because Jen broke it down. Even it's confusing to me. And she really broke it down. And she says the Cliff Notes is ICE is operating exactly as it was intended to operate. And then you ask yourselves, is it worth it? I'll let you answer that question. Jen, before I let you go, shamelessly promote yourself.
Let's see. Oh, my podcast is Borderland Talk. I have that on Substack. I also have that on Ghost for people who don't like Substack. And my book is Against the Wall. It is available anywhere online. Reviews, please. Reviews really help. And I also did the Audible, and you can get that on various different platforms as well. I read the book. So, and
Oh, yeah. And a lot
when
of people,
I'm sorry, when you read the book, you'll go, well, shit, this girl's been talking about this for years. It's 3 years. It's over 3.5 years old.
but it's now sadly, it's now more relevant than ever.
Yeah.
I wrote this book 3 years ago too, and
Yeah.
now people are reading it. It's called
Yeah.
"Go Back to Where You Came From," and other helpful recommendations on how to become American. And it's the world's worst. I told you so. I get no joy from it, but I'm sure you get no joy from this as well. But you were right. You are right. You know this. You are a whistleblower, and everything you warned about and talked about is literally coming to fruition. The sad part is, Jen, people didn't care because they thought it would just be brown and black and Muslims. Let's just be honest. And
Yeah.
now we realize, oh shit, we're
Yeah.
all in it, folks. All of our
Gays,
skulls.
LGBTQ community, which I'm part of, is going to be a part of it as well. Especially the trans community, they're going to be arresting them and putting them in these places as well. I do want to say for people who don't know me, I did not serve 20 years in the Border Patrol. I do not get a pension from the Border Patrol. I resigned after 6 years, and then I spent a long time evaluating and addressing my own racism and prejudice and what I had done. And so it took me a while to get there, but that's how I
But
got there.
you're fully there. I mean, it's an amazing journey. It's a great book. It has great reviews. It's came out 3 years ago, folks. But I should be a bestseller again. And Jen is independent. Like I said, while you were finding the charger, it is tough to be a woman in Border Patrol. It is tough to be a whistleblower. It is tough to now be a female LGBTQ whistleblower speaking out while living in San Diego against her former colleagues, but she's doing it. So the least you all can do is subscribe and buy the book. Buy the book. It helps Jenn, and then it helps Jenn keep doing what she's doing. Instead of becoming a paid subscriber to the Left Hook, send that money to Jenn, and then just become a free subscriber to me. So if you are a paid, if you want to give some money, give it to Jenn first. If you have a few dollars left over, you feel like being super generous, send it to me. I have 800 kids. If not, send it to Jenn again. Jenn, thanks so much for spending the time. Thank you to the 1,600 people who are watching. We'll have this conversation up. This is Jenn Budd, whistleblower. She has a Substack. I've posted it. She has a fantastic book. The book again is
Against the Wall.
Against the Wall. Substack.com/@JennBudd, JENNBUDD. This is the Left Hook. Folks, no paywalls. Everything's free. Be kind to each other. Be informed. And please, oh, please, don't be a fascist and abolish ICE. Thank you, Jenn.
Abolish
I hope you,
ICE.
I hope you can come back.
Abolish ICE. And next time I'll be more prepared.
You're
I'll
out.
just
If this was you unprepared, I can't even imagine how you are prepared. But can you come back and join us in a couple of weeks?
anytime you want. Anytime.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you all. Thanks, Jenn.
All right. Bye-bye.